All right, great start. This is the kind of feeling we're going to be having for the rest of the talk, I think. I must admit, a lot of this came in last minute. But okay, welcome everyone to 101 Tips and Tricks in Unreal Engine, The Reckoning. And some of you might be thinking, The Reckoning? What are you reckoning? What do you reckon? Well, this is actually a continuation of a talk that was done in 2019. It was called 100 Unreal Engine 4 Tips and Tricks at Unreal Fest Europe in Prague. And the original talk is basically that the European Unreal Engine evangelism team attempted to do 100 tips and tricks on stage in a single presentation. Very lofty goals. And I was actually not a part of the evangelism team back then, but I was there. I was in the audience. Look, it's me. And you can see that this was 6 years ago because I was only half gray back then, so I progressed. And you can see how excited I am.
Ooh, it's happening.
Ooh, it's happening. And now you are all past me. It's super exciting. And this is the picture I took from the audience. I don't know if they said we weren't supposed to, but there's Short, there's this cat. I thought, wow, this is so much fun. What a fun team. They're like up on stage and they're not taking themselves too seriously. They have these funny cats. And I was like, maybe one day I would like to work for the team. I was working at Housemark then, by the way. By the way, love that company. If they have openings, you should apply there. And I got this clip just to show you how fun it was seeing being there in person.
If you have any trick, 1, 2, 3. If you have any trick you want to share with us, we are open for that.
I didn't ask him if it was okay to show that, so I hope that's fine. Sorry, Andreas. But I was looking at them and I was like, oh wow, what a fun team. I would love to be a part of this, or maybe I'll, apply there someday. And the thing is, I actually got a job there a couple of years later. But that was actually during COVID. And we didn't really do any events during COVID. And then after COVID, people just started leaving the team. They were like, I want to make games again. And I'm like, can't fault that. And eventually, it was just me left. I was the only evangelist in Europe. And then they disbanded the evangelism team. So I never got to do the every evangelist on stage presentation. It made me so sad. Because I wanted to do a redemption for them. I was like, guys, you actually fucked up the presentation. They know very well because they called it out.
Anyhow, it's not actually 100 tips, it's actually 69. Okay? So.
They messed up. I was like, guys, we need to redeem it. But now, the ex-evangelists are lost. Their tips, lost to time. I don't know where they are. So I decided, instead of redemption, it'll be a reckoning. I'm going to try to give 101 tips and tricks. Hello, everyone. My name is Ari Arnbjörnsson. I was actually a European Unreal Engine evangelist 2021, so 2 years after the original one. Now I'm a senior software engineer for the technical developer relations team at Epic Games, which is actually kind of cool. You still get to do the same things. I still get to go up on stage and make a presentation. Actually, I get to do more of that. And less of the whole being the main contact point for Epic Games for all the indies. Sorry, indies. Now I focus mostly on everyone. Let's get into it. Are you ready for 101 tips and tricks, The Reckoning? First tip, the property matrix. All right, you can actually edit multiple assets at a time with the property matrix. You just select a lot of assets, you right-click, and you do edit selection in property matrix right there. You can pin any property to a column. There's a little pin view there in the pinned columns, and then you can see it in the kind of matrix, so you can see which one has this on, which one has it off. Like there, see, nanite is off for all of them, so I can just tick it, and then press Save All. But also, you can select a lot of assets in the list, and then in the details view, if you just click the button that you want to be the value that you want to be the new value, you can set it for all of your assets or as many assets as you want at the same time. There's a huge time saver, and you should be using it if you're not already, when you need to edit the property of multiple assets. Tip number 2, unhide runtime components. Usually when you add components dynamically, either through construction script or at runtime through begin play, or even just at any time, Unreal doesn't show it. It's just invisible. And you're like, I want to see that component, even though I'm not adding it at design time. And Unreal just says, no. But the thing is, it's hidden behind the checkbox. Go into your editor preferences. There's a hide construction script component in details view. And if you just uncheck that, it will show all components that you add, either through a construction script or at runtime. So this is really nice for debugging. Like you can see here, just the default scene route, even though the constructor is adding a static mesh component. And then when we uncheck that, there is the dynamically added static mesh component. Next tip. Wait, did I go too far? No. You don't need complex physics on everything. I'm actually seeing this a lot. I'm helping a lot of studios with their performance, and I'm seeing like you just got complex physics on everything. But it's not a big problem to fix because you can just go into project settings and turn the default shape complexity to use simple collision as complex. Complex collision is only for you when you trace into the scene. It's not for the default when they're colliding with actual things. And if you don't need it, like we don't need it, the engine doesn't require it, you can just turn them off. Also, speaking of physics, usually physics is kind of started in the end of pre-physics. After pre-physics is going to be start physics group, and then there's a little during physics, where physics is happening on another thread, and then there's an end. Actually, I use the mouse, sorry. And then there's an end physics right here, where it's waiting for the physics on another thread until it comes back. And you can actually move some of your ticks from the pre-physics group, like here you can see how, to the end physics, and then you're not spending any time waiting. Although I would say that the main tip should be just don't have your physics seem so complex that it would make space like that in the first place. But if you already have it too slow and you're like, I can't do anything about it, or so you think, you can just start moving things over to the during physics. You can, I say you don't need to, you can't write or read from transforms. You can actually read from them. It's just going to be the same transform that were in the pre-physics and before the end physics happened. So it's just going to be like the data during that frame and during the previous frame and not this frame. Next check is to check out the chaos visual debugger. You can actually view the complete physics scene state and all the physics collisions and queries for each frame during your recording. It's amazingly powerful because it basically shows you what your game's hidden world looks like. And I'm often looking at captures from clients and the physics scene looks unoptimized. And I'm like, have you looked at the Chaos Visual Debugger? And they say, we didn't even know it existed, which is fair because it's new. But I want to ask, how many people in here have actually opened the Chaos Visual Debugger? I see about 7 hands out of 300. I have a bullet point for that. Most of you haven't opened it, and I know it. Go in, like when you, after Unreal Fest, go to your workplace or your home or whatever, open your project and just, like Chaos Visual Debugger. It's under, I should have put it there. It's under Tools, Debug, Chaos Visual Debugger. It's right there. You just open it, press record. You can do it also for a package game. And it's immensely powerful and it shows you the hidden world. And there you can see like, oh, the trees are a little complex. Maybe I can simplify them. And you can also, there's a show flag where you can switch between simple, complex, or both. By default, it shows both, which is a little bit confusing. You should hide the one you're not actively looking at. Better cooker logs. This is actually from, I'm reusing it for my presentation. I did not have a lot of time to make this presentation. I reused it for my advanced debugging talk. But sometimes when you're cooking a game, you'll get a warning like, hey, your asset is unoptimized or this property has something wrong with it. And it'll show you a warning. And it's like cooked packages 2887. Hey, something's wrong. And you're like, which asset is it? And Unreal's like, but what you can do is that you can open project settings, go to the cooker, and you can change the cooker display mode. And this is actually 2 tips. First tip is you can put it to names, and then it will show the names of the asset that is currently being cooked. So like right over here, it will say, oh no, something horrible happened, but you know it was in the asset that is currently cooking. Old unused blueprint. I'm not even using that. I'll just delete it. Easy fix. But also, the second tip is that it also has instigators. Instigators will show you what pulled that asset into the cook in the first place. Wow! I know, right? To hear people that I've known in Epic for years going, what? Like, yes. This, like, I noticed this, and I was like, who added it? And it was just a random change list. It was just like some guy in Epic was just like, I needed it, so I added it, and no word about it anywhere. This is your word. You can turn that on. Insights task channel. This is great. Sometimes when you're profiling, the thread just says wait until task is complete, and you don't know which task it's waiting on. So what you can do is you just, when you do the dash trace, it will say default comma something, you can add comma task, or in the channels view in the editor, you can do it in the Unreal editor in the little button in the lower right. You can turn on the channels, turn on the task, and now when you click it, it's going to show these awesome arrows. Like here's some task that was launched over here, but it was waiting on this task before it could happen, and then eventually this task had this as a prerequisite. So it's amazingly powerful for you to kind of figure out why something was waiting on it. You don't have to go, it was waiting on something, I don't know, probably the GPU. Now you can see exactly which task. As a programmer, this is one of my favorite tips. Das base dir. So you can see some of my Icelandic accent. Dir. So sometimes you have a build, and the build is doing something weird, and you want to be able to debug it, but maybe you only have a shipping build, and it's on Steam, and you want to be able, and it only crashes on Steam, and you're like, oh no, I need to debug it, but I'm already on the newest commit from main, so I need to go to the commit that matches the build from Steam, and then I have to cook it locally? No, you do not have to cook them if you already have them somewhere else. So you can just tell the executable, hey, your base directory is actually in my Steam apps common, my game binaries Win64 folder. It's always in the Win64 folder. And then it will run just the executable from Visual Studio or wherever you're launching it from, and it will use the cooked assets, it will use the save game, it will use the logs directory and everything from that base directory. And you can even switch from shipping build to development build or debug build, and it'll still work with the same cooked assets. It's an amazing tip. If you're doing any sort of debugging, this is going to be like a Hail Mary many times. So like, yeah, really like try it out. A little bonus tip, if you download a plugin called, in Writer it's called Easy Arcs, and in Visual Studio it's called Unreal VS, you can easily set the any startup parameters just there right in the editor, and it will show you the last few ones. This is a bonus tip, but I won't count it. Unless I run out of tips, then I will count it. Global settings for your INI files. Any config files you put into my documents /Unreal Engine /engine/config will overwrite all any settings for all editors, all projects, and most importantly, in my opinion, all games on your computer. So if you have a favorite setting that you want to be applied to every single Unreal game that you play, even though it's on like Epic Games or Steam or something like that, you can override it there. Just have it called user and then the name of the settings, and then it will override it. So here you can see an example, users, me, documents, Unreal Engine, engine, config, user, editor per project settings. I like to have the asset editor open location to be main window by default. I don't like to automatically hot reload new C++ classes because I'm going to edit it anyway. Stop compiling it, it's empty. And also live code extensions automatically compile new classes to false. You can even do the user input so that, like, for example, my keyboard is Icelandic. I don't have the tilde key. I have the Ö key, though. And the Ö key isn't doing anything. So console keys Ö opens the console. And then for debug exec bindings for the toggle debug camera, I have IE, So whatever of your weird characters you have for whichever country you're from, you can actually put them to use. Also, sometimes I have more than one, sorry, they're a bit programmer-centric, but I'm a programmer. I'll try to vary them a little bit. So when you generate Unreal Engine solution, it's just going to be called ue.sln. And if you have two folders and you open another solution, you're trying to tap between them, they're just both called ue.sln. And you're like, well, which one is which? So if you go into your documents, Unreal Engine, Unreal Build Tool, build configuration.xml, there is you can put their project file generator, primary project name from folder equals true, and then it will name your solution file the same name as the parent folder. So here I have Perforce Unreal Engine 5 main, and then I have another one called Perforce Unreal Engine 5 release. So I always know which one I am in just by looking at the top bar. Oh, okay, so I have to be honest. I have two presentations at this Unreal Fest, and I put most of my time in the other one, and this was my last tip. So I have a tip counter here. Okay, it was only 10. I thought it would be more. But it's okay, I have some backups. I have a lot of backups. Okay, so I got one of my coworkers who actually also used to be an evangelist to give me a video just in case I ran out of tips. I thought I would have more. But it's okay, I have a slide for him. So his name is Aaron Langmead, a new speaker. He's not here, though, in person, because I didn't think I needed it, but I've just been super busy. So, because I'm doing a talk with Matt Osterley tomorrow about profiling with purpose. You should check that out, because all my time went into that, and this is just kind of like thrown together But Aaron was going to help me. So he used to be a European Unreal Engine evangelist in 2021, and he's now a principal technical artist at Epic Games. He works for the content team. So when you are launching Unreal in a new project and you have the third-person template, he and his team made it. That's super cool. And he also does a lot of other sample projects. But yeah, he was not a part of the original 100 Tips talk. None of us were, but he made some tips for me. Please, Aaron, take it away with my backup video.
Hey Ari, I hear you're in need of some extra Unreal Engine tips and tricks, so here are a couple that I've picked up over the years at Epic. Whenever you're working in Unreal, make sure that you're targeting the right frame rate. Usually in games we target between 30 FPS and 60 FPS. In Engine, we're targeting these frame rates based on the high and epic settings. So if you're ever targeting 60 FPS, make sure that you set your scalability groups to high. You can optimize your CPU render thread by disabling occlusion on many of the objects in your scene. This one is a great example because it is a highly porous mesh in that it has lots and lots of holes where we can see through it. It will never be a good occluder, so we might as well just disable it. You can also do this for any decorator meshes that you have in your scene here. We can kind of see our main occluder, which is this large cylindrical surface. But on top of that are these pillars. They're never going to occlude anything on their own, or they're very unlikely to occlude anything on their own. So we can just disable occlusion on that as well. If you're spawning these through PCG, user's occluder is almost always off by default unless you manually set it so. So just make sure when you're marking stuff as user's occluder, you're actually checking whether they would ever be occluding anything. If you're running low on samplers, or if you are trying to optimize your texture memory even more, you can always pack an extra channel inside your normal map. The default normal map channel will mark out the blue and alpha channel so that you can't use them anymore, and it will also cause an increase in your resource size. Rather than importing it in as a normal map, you can import it in as a default compression, which will reduce the amount of resources. And as long as you make sure that you use sRGB off, you'll be able to bring this in and then convert it to a normal map afterwards. In order to do that, all you need to do is do a bias scale to map this from a 0 to 1 value to a -1 to 1 value, and then append in a flat color into the blue channel. You'll be able to see here, if I switch these out, we have the exact same normal, we just have slightly worse compression. It's because we're not paying for that channel slot anymore. But what it also means is that we now have an extra slot in our blue channel for us to do something with. If we put this into our metal channel, you'll be able to see it just does everything as one. But if we put our blue channel in here, you'll be able to see we now have a cool mask, which we can use on our surface. You can use the built-in modeling tools to generate mask data, which can be really useful for later use in materials. Just go to modeling, head on down to bake vertex, and then you can bake whatever information you want. You can either choose to use a texture, which you can import in, or you can do per channel and set each RGB and A channel to output a particular type of mask like curvature and ambient occlusion. You can modify the number of occlusion rays and change the color range multiplier to allow you to have a higher or lower contrast. While this can be really good for mask data, just keep in mind that this is entirely dependent on the vertexes of the object because we are using vertex colors, which means that if you're using things like nanite, then those will change as the model streams in different resolution meshes. Here is how to make the most of runtime virtual textures in your large open world. First, find your RVT volume, go down to streaming texture and create an SVT. Then in your landscape, go down to your HLOD material override. In your HLOD material override, add a runtime virtual texture node and set it to sample the same volume. Then set your MIP level to sample past the point that your runtime virtual texture would sample at. Now, when you generate HLODs for your world, the landscape will no longer need to build custom materials and textures for every single cell. Instead, it will just use this single material, which will be used across the entire landscape.
Oh, Oh, that was it. Okay, what's the tip counter now then? I need more tips, and I'm losing my voice for some reason. Sorry. So, but it's okay. We don't need me after all, because I actually noticed something amazing. I noticed one of my coworkers here in this room. I'm wondering, okay, now, okay, here, take this mic. Take this. Hey, Jack.
Oh, hey, everyone.
Do you want to come up on stage and give some tips? You probably have some tips. You've been working at Epic for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have to prepare them, though.
Yeah, come on stage.
Can I bring my chair?
Yeah, bring your chair. Well, actually, I'll give you a chair. Give it up for Jack. Please, come here. Okay, wait, I'll make a slide for you. I'll take your Slack profile picture, and I will... How's this? There we go, new speaker appears, Jack Conton. So you were actually an Australian Unreal Engine evangelist between 2021 and 2023. And so yeah, what are you doing now?
I am still based in Melbourne, Australia, helping out, and I'm part of the tech developer relation teams with you now.
Oh, you're on my team. You were not a part of the original 100 Tips talk, but I hope you have some really cool tips for us. So do you want to take over?
Let's see how we go. Well, I thought because we were doing a talk about recording lots of tips, this is a really good one if you need to record videos for onboarding. And that is, did you know that the widget reflector, which is a really common debug tool when you're working with UI, can change the UE application scale? So this is super useful when you're needing to record content, which is kind of what we're doing today. But can also just be good from an accessibility level or whatever you might do. In fact, it's even got some extra features. Like in the demo mode, you can turn on mouse click and keys. And what that lets you do is, hey, now I can see where my mouse is clicking, but also as I type, we get a display of all the keys. Now, if you listen carefully, you'll notice that I left my microphone on while recording this to increase the immersion. Totally intentional, I assure you. You probably know that we can obviously drag variables into the scene like this, and we can select, get, and set. And probably you also know, but just in case you don't, that if we hold Control or Alt, we can speed up that process significantly. So we'll go through some very basic ones, but I also wanted to point out that you probably know that we can create an input variable on a function just by dragging it in, which is something I always want to do because I'm very lazy. But sometimes you want to create an output variable, right? And you don't have a return node. And you drag it out and you go, oh no, I'm going to have to click buttons. That's not what I want to do. Well, did you know that if you plug it into the function input, it actually creates both the return node and the variable set up for you with that variable name, but obviously with a little index to separate it. I will go to any means possible to avoid extra clicks, so these are good ones. Another one, did you know that you can override the get and set node behaviors in Blueprint with C++? So this can be a really good trick to kind of override hacky blueprints in some cases, but also can be useful for all sorts of things. And to do it is really quite simple. We just, obviously, in this example, I'm just adding a clamp to this variable. Maybe there was some things that I needed to fix there. But all I need to do is add the blueprint setter or getter specifier, and then obviously point them at a function that I'd like to use. So this one's interesting. Did you know that you can make sequencer call a function whenever a variable changes? So in this example, this float value is updating the color of this cube material in Blueprint. And of course, I've seen people do this with, say, construction scripts, but this feels a little bit strange. So let me show you another way. Basically, we can run a Blueprint function whenever a value updates, for example, color shift here. And all we need to do is we make a function with set the variable's name. And we're also going to want to make sure call in editor is ticked. And after that, that function will be called whenever sequencer makes a change to that value. Did you know that we can put equations directly into Unreal? And it works just fine, but what about the really tricky stuff, Unreal? That's probably right. Did you know that the editor has a camera shake preview mode to help you author your camera shakes? This is really, really useful when you want to get a feel of your shakes, but also it's able to apply multiple camera shakes so you can see when things get really turbulent if you turned up your settings to 11 where it's just going to make everyone sick. Like I'm making you all sick now, so I'll move the slide on. Did you know that we have a plugin for viewing all your plugins and their dependencies? It's called the Plugin Reference Viewer, and it is really useful when you're using things like modular gameplay features and you start stacking a lot of plugins in your projects. For example, this is Lyra, and you can see that there is a very complex web that you can visualize very simply. But of course, often people, when they're working on projects, they're not going to look at your graphs. They're going to create references and dependencies wherever they like. And that can be terrifying. It certainly keeps me up at night. So did you know that there is a plugin to stop people making references across plugins that they are not dependent on? This is, as we know, a very common scenario. Even if you have all the graphs in the world, there is just too many places to make a mistake, especially when you're using things like the developer folder or working on DLC. And so a quick example, I'm going to try to drag this data asset into a file that I'm not allowed to because they're across plugins and Unreal. It's telling me absolutely no. It's actually part of the asset validator toolset. And so it even is able to tell me kind of what I should be doing and correct my behavior before I cause a problem for everyone, as I'm like to do. Did you know that, so metadata assets are a great way of moving data from your DCC tools into Unreal Engine. They're also just good genuinely if you want to save data to an asset. But it's not really optimal for searching because to load that information, we need to load the whole asset, right? So in this example, I have some metadata associated with some assets. It's just some management information, whoever made it and what status it's in. I've made a cute little Kanban up there so we can see that all. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I've made it regardless. But without this data being the asset registry, we can't actually use it in a way we'd want to, say the content browser, to actually do filtering like this. So there is a little thing inside of our project settings in the asset manager to promote metadata values directly into the asset registry. I think this is very abusable as well though, so, you know, great power and all that, but very interesting stuff. And so now I'm able to say, hey, what are all the things that Jack's meant to be working on that are currently ready for review or progress or whatever else? And you can create your own filters and obviously add all the kind of things you might want to. So if you find this metadata restricting because it's essentially just handling strings, or you want to add other arbitrary data to an asset, there is a great option that folks don't know about called asset user data. And let me play my little video. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm going to add arbitrary data to this asset, this beautiful corn, and I'm going to add my user data, which essentially is a gameplay tags container. So I'm proposing here in a way a replacement to actor tags maybe, right? But you could do whatever is appropriate to your project. And to do it is really simple. All we need to do is make a child of asset user data. And here I've just got my gameplay tag container. It's probably worth making a blueprint getter, in which case I'm just using a static function. And this is how we call that data from the asset itself to use. So that's it from me. Thank you. Happy to help, Ari.
Oh, thank you. I was hoping you would just finish the presentation for me. Oh, take a seat. You can be there and be my emotional support animal. Okay, how many tips are we at? We're not close to 101, but it's okay. While Jack was speaking, I was scanning the audience, and I did notice that another coworker of mine from my team is here. Actually, I'm talking both mics at the same time. It's funny. Hey, here you go. So Matt, it's Matt Osterley. Matt,
Oh, hi.
You have a bunch of tips in your sleeve. Do you want to come up on stage here and help me?
Man,
Come
dude,
on.
I got 3 other talks at this show. You want me
He
to come up on
actually has
stage?
3 other talks. Okay, come on, everyone. How about we get one from Matt? Come on.
Fine.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Fine.
I'll make a very
Save this
special
guy.
slide for you. I'll make a special slide. It will look like.
Oh, I get a special slide.
Look at this.
That's
A
so
new
nice
speaker
of you.
appears. Who is it? It's
Oh.
Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you went through all that work to make a special slide for me, I will come and save you with some more tricks. But hold on.
Oh, thank you.
I need to make the slides real quick.
Okay.
Just give me a second here.
This guy's got the best tips ever, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Google.com, Unreal Engine tips and tricks.
Oh no! Don't use the AI for this one.
Did it? Oh, okay.
Okay, now
I think I'm
just
good.
do it.
Okay,
do what you do best. Come on, you can do it.
So here we go. I've got a few things. So Jack was talking about when you're preparing videos for tutorials or something like that. One of the tips that I really like to use is disabling tooltips when you are recording these videos, because sometimes you're like trying to show a thing and then the tooltip pops up and covers the thing that you're trying to show. So you can disable those tooltips, right? That's pretty handy. And also disable all screen messages is going to get rid of that lighting needs to be rebuilt in the top left corner. If you could just make it go away. The other thing that I see a lot of, like when I'm looking at student projects or something like that, is they spam print strings to the screen, right? We've all seen just constant blue text on the left side of the screen. You actually don't need to do that. And there's actually 2 tips in here. So first off, we can format text. If you've never seen this node, this is really handy. So now instead of having to do like a bunch of append strings, I can just format the text and it'll plug everything in really nicely. And I can use the print text node with this key input, and it's going to put that value into one spot on the screen. It's not going to have to spam the log. Really, really handy for that. Also, when you're recording videos or you're working in the editor, you can just press F10 to hide, to dock the details and outliner panels. It'll move that stuff over to the top. You can also press Control-Shift-T to hide the toolbar if you don't like the toolbar for some reason. This one, totally unrelated, but if you're trying to do like a draw material to render target and the textures aren't ready yet, you can set force MIP levels to be resident, so you don't have to like set the texture to never stream. You could just tell the engine, hey, give me this texture right now. Also, if you're ever working with dynamic mesh, this is kind of my like 101 for dynamic mesh, which is first we need to get the dynamic mesh pool, then we need to request a mesh from it, and that gives us the dynamic mesh object that we're going to start working with. Also, this one has burned me in front of customers before. Post-process volume settings will supersede all console variables. They're actually kind of lerped together, and which is fine for most purposes, right? I've got a bunch of post-process volumes, and they need to kind of work with the CVARs that I've set in my device profiles, which is normally fine because most of the stuff we're working with are like floats, right? But things like reflection method is not a float that you can linearly interpolate. And so if you're ever, say, standing in front of a customer and trying to figure out why you can't change the reflection method, it's because they had it set manually in the post. This is a true story.
It sounds like some harsh experience
This
there.
is trauma. This slide is trauma. So if you're trying to do stuff with your device profiles, somebody might have like dropped a post-process volume in the world, and they're like, I want to set the reflection method to screen space, and nothing changes. You're just banging away at the keyboard. That's why. That was a fun one. But speaking of, device profiles are really, really handy. Everybody should absolutely be using them. And if you ever want to test them really quickly, you can do dp.override and then pass in the name of the device profile that you want to set, and it's going to set all of those console variables, which is quite handy. Also, as a side plug, Lyra has a really good example of a system to figure out what device profile should be applied at any given time. Definitely check those out. And if you're ever curious about what a console variable does, you can just ask it. You just say console variable ? And it will print out the help text of the console variable instead of what I used to do, which was Control-Shift-F in Writer for the console variable. That one also I learned in front of a customer. So that one's really handy. And then the other one for console variables is if you dump CVARs, it will write out all of the values of all of the console variables at once, which maybe is going to be too much. You can also like filter that and it'll dump all that stuff into the log. Really handy. But Ari, I'm really sorry. I only got you to 37.
Oh man. Well, okay. Thank you so much though for those tips.
I'm happy to help.
Yeah, you can keep this
No,
one.
I'm going to take this one.
All right. No, I want that one.
Oh, you want this
You can
one?
have this one.
Okay.
This is totally unplanned, by the way.
Sorry, man. It's only so much I can do.
Hey, I actually am quite hopeful because while you were talking, I was scanning the audience. And I noticed actually another coworker of mine, it's not in the same team though, but actually, okay, so Sam, here, take this. Okay,
Ari.
you actually you've done a lot of presentations. You probably have a lot of tips and tricks also to show. Do you want to come up on stage and give some tips and tricks for the audience?
Sure, why
Yeah,
not?
right, everyone, give it up for Sam. All right, Sam. I'll make a slide for you. I'll use your Slack profile picture. I'll use your LinkedIn profile. And here we go. So,
Oh, hey, it's me.
yeah, it's you. So you used to be a North American Unreal evangelist between 2021 and 2023. And because you were not an evangelist in 2019, you were not part of the original talk. None of us
No.
were. But tell us, what are you doing now?
So I work for the technical content team. You may have seen StackoBot or Lyra or the various new templates that we did. I worked on all of those. Aaron, who showed up earlier, he's my boss, so you have to applaud for all of his tips more than mine. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble. And I definitely have another 70 tips for you. So it
Nice.
should be fine.
You can help it. You can fill us up. 201.
So if you don't like the sound of my voice, I'm really sorry, because there's going to be a lot.
It's going to be an
more.
hour of you. I'm so glad you helped us out.
So yeah, let's do this thing.
Take it away. Woo!
Woo, me. Okay, so let's talk about the Actor Palette. This is a plugin that you should enable, and that allows you to use a level as a palette, meaning that you can set up a level with all your content. This is one I made for StackoBot 2.0, and you just drop all the content that you want to use, and then in the level you're actually working in, you just open up the Actor Palette tool. If you've enabled the plugin, if you didn't enable the plugin, it's not going to work. And then you can literally just click in the Actor Palette level and then drop things directly into your level from there. And that means rather than digging through, say, the content browser and then going, which folder did I put that thing in? Is this the correct version of that thing? Or even, should I make a thing or does the thing already exist? Just use the Actor Palette and you have all your stuff there. And if you're, say, a designer and you have this weird desire to make your own thing every time, you can use the Actor Palette to circumvent that behavior, because otherwise you could be like me and make the same door 15 times across a project, and then suddenly you get your tech director going, why are there 15 versions of a door? And you're like, oh, well, I should use the Actor Palette. So Actor Palette is your friend. So
I didn't know this was such a common problem.
Yes, this is, I like to call it stupid designer tricks. And I am definitely guilty of that. So next up, let's talk about Blueprint Palette. This is a feature that is in the Blueprint editor that no one seems to know about. But like the Actor Palette, it's just a quick way to access a bunch of nodes. And it is just a tab in the Blueprint editor that no one seems to know exists. But you can just turn it on. It's in the window. You can see in my little slide there that I magically generated from my mind in the last 5 minutes. There is in the window menu, you can just turn on palette. And not only does it list all your common nodes, but you can customize it. You can add all the nodes that you regularly use. And if you do a lot of blueprinting, which I do, it will save you so much time. It's much better than just right-clicking and starting to type and realizing that you mistyped the name of the node because your spelling is terrible. And so, Blueprint Palette, it's your friend. You should use it. If you don't use it, you're probably making the person who wrote it sad. So, Blueprint Debugger. This is a thing that literally anyone who blueprints should be using. And this is the thing where when I was an evangelist, I worked with a lot of indie devs, and there was a lot of print string abuse. And certainly when I was a dev, there was a lot of print string abuse where instead of debugging a thing properly, you're just printing a variable out. And you can do all the nice things that Matt talked about to make that print string really pretty. Or you could use the Blueprint debugger and just track the variable. So Blueprint debugger lets you, well, debug. You can watch variables, you can watch node pins in real time. It works really nicely with your breakpoints. You can use the breakpoint and then check your variable call stack, or your Blueprint call stack. You can see what is executing in what order and how. So if you're getting those weird things where you're like, why my blueprinting looks fine, why is everything executing wrong? Am I getting weird race conditions? You can use the Blueprint debugger to do that. You can check your execution flow. And honestly, when you're doing a really complicated project, like when I worked on Lura, it saves you so much time. So use the Blueprint debugger. Again, someone worked really hard on it, and if you don't use it, you make them cry. And we don't want to do that. We want happy devs.
You can take my print string from my cold, dead hands.
Okay, this is going to turn into pro wrestling, isn't it? I'm calling you out, print string. Meet me in the, this isn't really an arena, meet me on stage, I guess. I don't think I would win that fight, but anyway, Blueprint debugger is your friend. You know what else is your friend? Is diffing your blueprints. You may notice there's a lot of blueprint stuff here. I am a tech designer. This is where I live my life. It's in the Blueprint editor. So one of the fun things as a developer working on a team is suddenly your thing breaks and someone checked in something and you're like, why is my thing not working? And you realize something has changed, but you don't know what. And with the Blueprint diffing tool, you can just literally go, this is my version, this is the older version, what is different? It will color code your changes. You can cycle through the changes, and it is all over the tool set. It's all over the Unreal editor. You can use the content browser to diff against another blueprint. So if, say, you have 15 doors, and you want to find out how they differ, if at all, you could actually diff your 15 doors and go, oh, Sam, why did you do that? This one has lock functionality, this doesn't. This is an octagonal door for some reason. It's just a different mesh. What is wrong with you? So you can do that. You can also diff against prior revisions in your depot. So you can use the review tool under resource control. You can do it directly through the Blueprint editor with diff against depot, and you can diff against depot in the content browser, and it will show prior revision numbers. So you can go, okay, let's diff against the version from 3 revisions ago, because sometimes you did something dumb, and then you forgot about it, and you checked it in, and you're like, what did I do? I definitely upset that person, because they're leaving now. I'm sorry. You should diff your blueprints, though. I really it will make your life so much easier. And I mean, I work on a lot of collaborative projects, and it does indeed make your life easier if you're like me and randomly decide to check things in at 3 in the morning and then go, what on earth was I doing? Why? So, next tip.
But this has taught me a life lesson, though. Now, whenever life closes a door, just create a new door.
Create a new door. And call it door_new 03 final, and no one will know any better. Door_15, why did I do this? So next one, this is just basic Blueprint housekeeping. Align your nodes. It will make your blueprints much easier to read. If you're working collaboratively, one of the key things is other people need to understand what you did. And so if you just have a mess of nodes sprawling around looking really weird, maybe you should use Shift A, W, D, and S to align them on cardinal directions. Use Q to align them horizontally. There are a bunch of alignment options if you right-select nodes and right-click. You can distribute them vertically or horizontally, and it will just make your blueprints easier to read. They will be prettier, and you will like to look at them. You'll open up in the morning and go, oh, look at that. It's so nice. And that's what you want people to think when they look at your blueprints. So next one, validated get. So one of the things I see that is really common, and I'm certainly guilty of this, is I need to get something, and then I need to make sure that it's actually valid because I'm going to do something with that data, and if there is no data there, then I'm going to break my entire routine. It's not going to work right. So you can, when you do a getter, just right-click, select Convert to Validated Get, and it will let you do the validation check right there in the node, so you don't need to do a branch. You don't need to use a function to do it. You can just right-click, use a validated get. If you look at Stack Overflow 2.0, I abuse the heck out of this. Because sometimes you're like, oh, there isn't actually that value for me to check against yet. I'm going to break everything when writing a custom camera, say. So talking of custom cameras, Blueprint Update Camera. So this is a fun one that I learned after writing a custom camera and then going, oh, maybe I should have done it this way. And so I rewrote it using this, which is you can create your own player camera manager. This is the thing that not a lot of people seem to know you can do. You can just inherit from the base player camera manager and create a custom one. And then you can set your custom one in the player controller. It's not set in the rest of the framework. It is set in the player controller for reasons that I'm sure smart engineers will tell me why. But it is set in the player controller. And then there is a function in it called Blueprint Update Camera. What does that do? It lets you update the camera. And what it does is it gives you a reference to what the camera is targeting as a variable. And you should validate it when you get that variable. And then you can take that target and go, okay, so I want my camera offset from this. I want it facing this way. I want to do all this logic. And then the return node on that function lets you put in a location, rotation, and FOV. And then there is a Boolean. You set it to true. The camera will be at that location next frame. It will snap directly to it. If you set it to false, it will use your standard camera logic. So if you want to, say, do a secondary camera, Stackabot 2.0 has a side-scrolling camera that I definitely didn't obsessively work on for a very long time because I like side-scrolling games and forced it into Stackabot. You write it entirely in this function. It works with the camera manager. It updates on frame. So you can write a lot of custom camera logic and dynamically turn it on or off. In this case, I created an enum with all the different camera types. And so if the camera type is side-scrolling, it uses that function to switch to side-scrolling camera. Key thing is the transitioning in and out of this, you will have to handle yourself. There are a lot of different ways to do it. But if you want to see how I did that, download Stackobot and see what I did, and you do it better than I did. All right, next one. Mesh to collision. Okay, enough blueprint talk. Let's talk about one of those things where you have a mesh. It's really pretty, because every bit of art I make is gorgeous, I swear. And the collision is dreadful or does not exist. And in a lot of cases, maybe you get something online and it looks really nice, but it just does not have good collision. You can use the modeling tools to have it make collision for you. And one of the key things here is we've added something called convex decomposition that builds out really, really clean collision geometry using very smart math written by very smart people in geometry script, essentially. So all you need to do is go to modeling mode, attributes, select your mesh, and go to the mesh to collision option, select convex decomposition as your methodology. If you don't do that, you'll get all kinds of weird stuff. And then just hit a button, and magically you will get collision. This is how we did a lot of the collision of Stackabot, just because we had all these meshes and we were working really fast. And we didn't want to do it by hand because we're lazy. So mesh to collision is your friend. Next up, state tree for logic. So this is one, shout out to the state tree team. I'm doing this one for you. So you may know behavior tree, which is, really nice fallback state machine designed for AI. We've introduced state tree as people think of it as the new version of behavior tree because, yes, you can use it for AI. We do use it for AI. But it is a generic state machine with nice fallback logic. It's very customizable. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Anything you could do in behavior tree, you can do in state tree. But it's not just for AI. You can use it for doors, say. Doors, lights, all that kind of stuff. So if you have any kind of state tree logic, state machine logic, rather than just writing it in a blueprint and creating an enum and doing a case switcher and all of that, just use state tree. It'll do it for you. It's really efficient, and it will make your life much easier. And then when you go to debug it, you can see the exact structure of your state machine in state tree since it's all visual, and you'll be much happier. Your engineers will like you. Anyone who has to work with your stuff will like you because it's easy to understand. Okay, so my last tip, and this gets us to 101, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm good at math.
I'm not good at math.
Yeah, I'm a designer. Don't ask me to do math. We have math people for that.
There's so many doors.
Yeah, so my last tip is, okay, this is a slightly esoteric tip, but I work with indie developers a lot. And a lot of developers are like, we want to make a multiplayer game. You can spend a year building your prototype, writing the replication code, writing the, things like your client server management, getting people to actually check in your game, setting up EOS, all of that. For your final game, if you want to do it in Unreal, you totally should. But UEFN as a tool is inherently multiplayer. So you can spend a couple days in UEFN and knock out a rough version of your idea and test it in multiplayer without working that hard. And I'm lazy, I don't like to work that hard. So one of those things is you can spend a year making your multiplayer prototype and go, oh wait, this sucks. It is way better to spend a day and going, oh wait, this sucks. Let's make it better, and iterate it a couple times in UEFN. And then you have a proof of concept, and maybe you make a little money on the side from it too, who knows? And that gets us to 101 tips, right?
Let's check the counter. It does it automatically.
Oh no, I'm so bad at math. So bad.
Oh no.
So we should end the talk, right? We should just go hide.
No. I think I have a backup. I have backups and backups and backups. So, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Schemes.
I must admit, like, so I said that all the original evangelists are no longer working at Epic. There is actually one ex-evangelist from 2019 who is still working at Epic, but I didn't want to bother him because he's a like director level now, and he doesn't even use Unreal anymore. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and I saw that he's in the audience. And actually, okay, so over here, Short, hey, so you're in the audience.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you want to give a few, like, you still have some old tips and tricks, right?
Yeah, I use Unreal a lot to make slides and spreadsheets and other things.
No,
It's really fun.
I don't want those kind of tips, but do you have some, like, useful ones? Come on, let's give it up for Short. Okay. I'll make a slide for you. I'll give you a little special title for you. So you are the OG UE evangelist. So you were in the European evangelism team. Actually, you were the team for a while, 2014 to 2020. Can you tell us more about that and what are you doing now?
Yes. So I started when we launched Unreal Engine 4 shortly after. So it's been quite a ride. I visited nearly, I think, every European country I've been in pretty much. I visited so many students. It was awesome. Did that for 6 years. Then COVID happened. That's a slight problem if this is your job. So then I figured, okay, well, we'll shift focus to doing this online. But then as I started looking at our online channels and our different websites and things, I realized this is quite fragmented. We can probably do more with it. So my job morphed into, okay, well, let's improve things. And that kind of took a dimension of its own. And now I'm doing meetings, I guess, internal ones, all day long. So what I look after now is a lot of the things that surround the developer experience. So not the engine itself, but stuff like the documentation, the sample project, and the template, with a team, Fab as a 3D asset store and distribution mechanism. I working on Fortnite creator communities that were just announced last week. For example, what else? The community overall, the Epic Dev community, the forums, the live streams, everything that kind of surrounded, kind of looking at that. So I ended up in that whole world, but unfortunately, I never really talked to anyone anymore. Well, my job before was talking to people, and now it's like talking to people internally to organize things. So.
Yeah, but I think maybe you could give some good old tips and tricks from when you were still in your prime, if I may say. Also, I just got word from the tech team. Can you keep the mic closer to the mouth? Okay, great. Take it away, Short.
Sure. Okay, so one other story. When we did this talk 6 years ago, we were meant to be the very last talk at Unreal Fest back then. So we figured, okay, let's make a very fun talk out of it. So we added a lot of cats to it. And then the day before Unreal Fest took place, they told us, well, actually, you're the very first talk after the keynote back then. And we're like, we do have a lot of cats here. So we started removing some of our cats. So to fix that, we just had to fix that, okay? Let's start simple. So there's actually a way of zooming in more in the different graph editors we have. So for example, in Blueprint or the material editor, especially in the material editor, this is quite useful because you can zoom in the little texture samples or other previews that you see in the notes in the graph. So if you hold Control and you zoom, you can zoom more than the default zoom. And this is a really old one, and you may already know this or not, but it's really, really useful. This was introduced in Unreal Engine 1. This has survived all the decades of Unreal. Stuff that you copy-paste, and it doesn't really matter where you copy-paste it from. If it's like Blueprint or any graph editor or an actor in the world, it converts to text. It's just text. So you can save your clipboard for the next day. You can chat with a coworker and just copy-paste them stuff, and they can continue from that. And even on the Epic Dev community, we have a snippet section where you can do that, but then for the wider community. So you can just share setups that you've made as pure text. It's just text. There's also a way of launching the game. So you probably are aware of the dash game parameter, right? So you launch the game in like in-game mode, but you can also access that by right-clicking the project and launch game from there. And so it doesn't launch the editor, launch the game, but without cooking it or anything like that, just the game as you have it.
Oh, you don't even need to cook the assets.
No?
Oh, so
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's great for testing. Also performance-wise, because obviously if you run the editor and then you play an editor and all that, you have the overheads from that. If you run it like this, you get more, better representation of performance. So, yeah. This view mode is very little known, I think. So there is, you can do actor coloration. So basically there's a view mode that shows you the different, you can select control-click a property, set the view mode to the property coloration view mode, and it visually shows you which actor in the world has that property set as well. So you can very quickly identify, for example, all meshes that have no collision set or some kind of setting that you're after, and just by browsing the level, flying through, as you can see over here. So it's fun to analyze what's where. Also, when you create a new blueprint, it will have a default scene root. The default scene root will have that icon that you see there at the top. So you're always stuck with that icon there. But if you create a new scene component and you drag the scene component on top of the default scene root, you have the same setup basically, but the icon is gone. So it kind of cleans it up a bit, and it's real fast. This one is also interesting, a very different kind of tip, but you can access the gbuffer. So there's a gbuffer data interface, as you can see over here. So you access the pixels from the gbuffer in a certain region on the screen, and you can read that in a particle, in a Niagara particle system, and then use that to, in this case, create this kind of cloud. But other things you can do with it is, for example, some kind of disintegration effect, things like that. So it's quite fun to play with this as well. There is a reload function built into the editor. So if you're making changes to an asset, you can, and you're not happy with it, rather than restarting the editor or anything like that, you could just do right-click, asset actions, reload, and obviously, since it's unsaved, it'll go back to what it had. You have reverted the asset. And this one I've used a lot myself in the past. This is great. There's a slight there is a performance overhead to this, but essentially you can create a volume material. You can control the volumetric fog with a volume material, and thereby you can control the color, the density, and you can even add a volume texture into it for like a bit of noise and a bit of structure and all that. So essentially, you need to have your height fog set to volumetric fog. It has to be enabled. And then with the material setup that you just saw, you can essentially control, here the density goes up, here the density goes up, etc. You can control the color. You get a lot more variation in there. Again, there is a performance overhead, but you can really create awesome moods in an environment like this. There is autosave, as you must have seen, because it keeps popping up everywhere. But what autosave actually does is it saves to the save folder, and it saves different versions. So it does, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 9, 0, restart. So you have 10 of them. And so you're always able to go back to one of those versions. If something goes wrong, it doesn't autosave your actual file. It saves to those 10 different versions in that separate folder. That also means, though, that that folder can get quite big at some point. So you may also want to clean it up at times, because everything is going to be there 10 times, basically, everything they've ever worked on. But if things go wrong, you have around 90 minutes of steps to fall back to.
So I should stop smashing that cancel button, because it's not actually going to save my assets. It's going to just save the current state somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I'm not ready to save it yet. Oh, okay. Well, I've been using this wrong.
Yeah. And then as a plugin, perhaps not that well known. So there is a day and night cycle as a plugin that's available, called the day sequence actor. That's available in the engine by default. And so that creates a day and night cycle. It comes with a skylight. It comes with a directional light, the whole thing, the whole setup, the volumetric clouds, sky and atmosphere actor. So it's a full setup to create a sky with an animation in there, with everything set up. There's an even better one called a Celestial Vault plugin, which is essentially the same thing, but it has like starry heavens at night. So it also comes with a night setup where you can see the Milky Way, and the Milky Way, the precession of the stars at night is like the accurate precession that you have. So it's just really nice to quickly get, awesome mood going on, awesome, day and night cycle going on. So yeah, I think those were the tips I have. So it's still not enough, is it?
Are we close to it?
No, I don't think so.
What? Let me check. Let me check the counter. It automatically calculates. We're at. Okay, well, we made it more than half. Well, thank you. Everything matters. Thank you so much, Stuart. Something happened. I put out a lot of feelers before this presentation because I wanted to reach the ex-evangelists that aren't with Epic anymore. I just sent emails like, please come here on stage, and like pretty much none of them replied. But I just got a video now from Mario. So Mario apparently sent me a video because he can't be here in person, but he's like, this might help you. He's very cocky, but okay, let's do it. I'm going to put it here. So this is Mario Palmero. He was actually a European Unreal Engine evangelist from 2018 to 2022. And he said in the email he's now the lead tech artist at Crema. But yeah, he was part, like short, of the original 100 Tips talk. So I got two of the original Unreal Engine evangelists. Let's see what his video is. Let me just embed it, and here we go.
Hola, my name is Mario Palmero, and I'm one of the original speakers of the Tips and Tricks talk at Unreal Fest. I was technical evangelist for the southern region of Europe at that time for Epic Games, but I went back to game development to work on some indie projects some years ago. I'm nowadays lead technical artist at Crema, a small studio based in Madrid and responsible for the 1010 games. I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks I use on my daily work. I hope that you find them as useful as I do. Enjoy! My first tip would be to set up the shortcut for Convert to Parent. This is going to be useful on the material editor, and it's as easy as, let's go to our project, editor preferences, go to keyboard shortcuts, and here we can search for Convert to Parameter. So let's type a new binding. In my case, I use P. And let's go to the material editor once this is set up. And now what we would do with the right click and the context menu, Convert to Param, is going to be achieved with the P shortcut. So for example, I can press T and create a texture sample, or 3 and click, or 1 and click, and all of these, just with selecting them and pressing P, we are going to convert those to a parameter. So as easy as that. Next tip is about renaming. So Unreal uses standard Windows shortcuts for renaming and creating folders. So we are going to have Ctrl plus Shift plus N to create a new folder, F2 to rename, and we will have some very useful tools to do batch renaming and renaming actors of the same class as the selected actor. So let's go to the editor to try that. First of all, to create a folder without taking our hands off the keyboard, we just press Ctrl plus Shift plus N, and we have our new folder. We type the name, and with F2 we can rename it. Besides that, we also have this batch renaming. We can select several assets and press Shift F2, and we're going to be able to use this tool to rename several assets at the same time, being able to remove or add prefixes, suffixes, numbering, etc. But we are going to have the same functionality if we select one type of actor and press Ctrl Shift F2 for every actor in the level that is of the same type. As you can see, we here can rename, batch rename all these actors that are of the type text render actor. My following tip is about changing the field of view of the editing camera. So this is going to be useful to check LOD behavior, for example, or to evaluate how elements are behaving when changing its screen size in the viewport. So in the editor, while we are editing our level, we can just, with the right mouse button pressed, press the C key to get closer to things, just narrowing the field of view, or open up the field of view and get distant away from the elements. So in this case, you can see that the landscape is changing its tessellation behavior, and we can see how it would be to be close to this area of the landscape without really getting closer to it. In the moment that you release the right mouse button, everything is back to normal, and the field of view will reset. My next tip is about creating a timer for the next tick. So a timer that will be activated and will run a function or a delegate in the next tick. So we can achieve this in Blueprint, delay until next tick. There's a note to delay something until the next tick, and this line of execution will be executed in the next tick. Then we have set timer for next tick by event. So this event will be triggered on the next tick of this actor, and set timer for next tick by function name. So we will run this function in the next tick. And we also can achieve this, of course, in C++, both on the world or in editor. We can ask for the timer manager, and the timer manager has a method that is set timer for next tick and will ask us to provide a timer delegate. And the final one is also about ticking. It's going to be about a command that allows us to list every actor in our level that is consuming ticking time. Let's try this in the editor. I've cleared the clear log by right-clicking and pressing clear log. And I'm going to press play, go to the commands, write down jump ticks. This is the command, press enter, and now we have a list of all the actors that are ticking in our level. So it starts right here, tick functions, and we have a list of every actor ticking and consuming resources in our level. So very useful when we are trying to optimize, when we see that there's a spike on our ticking time, to check what is going on and where our resources are going. And that will be all on my part. Enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Oh, that was great. Thank you so much, Mario, for sending that. What was your favorite tip? Because I did not know of the bats renamer that was just...
Did not know.
Yeah, exactly. Use the mic to your mouth if you want to talk. No one can hear you. Okay, how many tips are we at now? We are, okay, well, we're getting there, 62 out of 101. I'm needing so many backups. But while this was playing, I was scanning the audience. And I was hoping that, you know, by just saying, I was trying to announce this a lot of socials, like, oh, it's going to be a reckoning. We're going to defeat the old record. And I was hoping some of the original speakers would come here from wherever they are, because they didn't really respond to my emails. And I actually see in the audience one of the original speakers of the presentation. And actually, he's over there. It's Christoph. Christoph, here, take this mic. Take it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, you don't work at Epic anymore, but I would love to hear about the things you've learned in your new company.
This thumbstick has been waiting.
You have it on a thumbstick.
Yes.
Please come up on stage.
That's an opportunity.
Yeah, bring a chair. I need to sit somewhere. Scoot up for Christoph. Wow. Okay, let me first make a slide for you really quickly now. I'll use your LinkedIn photo. So, Christoph Pacholski. So you were the European Unreal Event 2019 to 2023.
That's correct.
We've been going for a little while. Tell us, what have you been doing since?
Funny you should ask, Ari. I joined One More Level, the creators of Ghost Runner, on our journey to create a new title called Valor Mortis. You can scan the QR code if you want. Shameless plug. There is a playtest that may happen at some point soon, so you can try the game, or you can watch the trailers or gameplays that are already out there. Hey everyone, so I was figuring out like what kind of tips I should share, and mostly I figured, okay, there is a few things that I notice every now and then when I see people using editor that don't necessarily help them make it. Like faster, easier, nicer. So I'll try to bring you some of those tools. First of all, Control P, you should all know it. But I'm not sure if you know that you can, first of all, not only open assets from that, you can drag them into your scene. And connecting that to collections is like, I only have my collections, and this is my next tool for browsing assets. I don't use the content browser. I mean, like, unless I have to do some operations on assets, like move them around folders, but this rarely happens. So I'm not sure if you read those tooltips in your context menus. You have shortcuts. And I noticed one day that copy and paste next to properties, it has like shift right mouse button and shift left mouse button. So I had no idea that you can actually, like any property, you can right click, left click with shift. And it's like, you right click to copy, and then you just like spam your left click, whatever you want with shift. Okay, so disabling blueprint nodes. Oh, I have it here. So. There is a few shortcuts. I'm not sure if they're set in the editor. They weren't, for sure, like in the previous versions of UE5. But you can see here, like, there is disable nodes, enable nodes. There is enable nodes always. And there is enable nodes development only. And you can basically switch your nodes. Like, there is no context menu action for that, at least to my knowledge. But you can set those things, and you can like disable a blueprint node just so it's not being called when you are testing like a huge blueprint from hell or whatever. It really helps disabling parts of the graph. But there is an important note: please do not like litter your graph with disabled nodes. Like delete them later. Just use it for testing or something. I didn't know that you can shift delete the nodes and keep the execution link connected. Yeah, right? That's one of my favorites recently, It's like you just click something, shift delete, done. Still connected, right? Okay, one other thing that I use a lot, I mean, like, and it tends to work in most places in the editor. So Control E, especially in the level editor, reference viewer, size map. In the size map, you just need to like scroll into the asset that you mean to use this shortcut on, because there is no context of clicking. There's no selection in size map, right? So if you select an asset, you can click Control E, and it opens this asset, like this assets editor. It works also like, on the level. If you have like a static mesh actor, it will take the static mesh, or stuff like that. Shift E is also super useful in the level editor, and it basically selects all the actors of the class that you have. So like if you just want to delete all of the, like, I don't know, test some things, you can get rid of them very quickly. Or if you just want to, I don't know, move them around. One other thing about like, where things work, Control B, which is open content browser, it works almost everywhere. So just use this. I mean, like, even if you click on something, in, I don't know, Niagara graph, you can probably open the module. I'm not 100% sure, but it tends to work in many weird places. -log, -new console. Especially if you're a programmer, tester, it's super useful to have your console next to your the game that you're running. And I'm using it a lot with easy arcs that Ari already mentioned. There's also the other plugin for
Unreal VS.
Unreal VS. Oh yeah, Unreal VS also gives you that. Yeah. So basically, you can just keep it there, and whenever you run your game or the editor, it works just fine. And also, very nice thing. Like sometimes you run your editor, and then the launcher window pops up. In the past, sometimes when I just killed this window, it wouldn't kill the editor opening process. I believe it now does it, but you can close the console window, and it's a parent to the Unreal process. So if you close the console window, it kills everything instantly, and then you can try again. Super nice. Okay, yeah, it has a lot of options. You can read it. One of my favorites for programmers, and not only be curious, but one of my favorites because I noticed not many people figured this out, right? So you can basically take any text you see in the editor, not necessarily copy it, rewrite it, write it yourself, and just Control-Shift-F in source code, and you can access things that were kind of like that you were trying to understand, right? So this is very helpful if you want to, I don't know, replicate some functionality from the editor. Like, I don't know, I was using that when you enable a plugin, and I love the restart editor button in my file menu, which was removed at some point from Unreal Engine 4, because you never need to restart the editor. But I really like to edit back. And to find it, the easiest way was to just enable a plugin, take a look at what the tooltip was next to the restart editor button that pops up. And I was like, okay, yeah, I could find very easily what it does. Next thing about it is you can also search for logs. And if you sometimes have a cook error and there is no info, or like, of course, you can use instigators. You can show instigators in the log, but if there is no info about the asset that causes the log, or you just are clueless at all, you don't know nothing at all, I mean, you can just copy the log. Remember that some values in the log may be formatted in, so like if there is a value like 3 assets or something, just, I don't know, omit the 3 assets part, and search for the longest part of your log you can, drop a breakpoint, and you will be able to find it, and probably also get more info about the asset when it breaks again. Just to quickly show you, yeah, like in this case, I was looking for plain viewport. You just find the references, you follow the tree down, and yeah, you see everything that this function does. And actually what is super nice here, you also see what happened around this operation. So you don't only call your, Unreal Ed request play session, but you also can realize, okay, there are 2 functions. Wow, maybe I need to also consider that when I'm using it in my tool. And one other one that I spent a lot of time, I wasted a lot of time not knowing. For example, you cooked your game, you cooked content for your game in shipping, because the tooltip says, right, cook the project for the selected configuration and target. At some point I was figuring out, hey, I'm pretty sure cook doesn't really take configuration into account. Maybe some things are considered, but maybe if I want to just debug it now, I don't necessarily need to cook again, and you don't. So basically the command that is being the command that is being called by this button, it doesn't even consider the configuration. The only part that considers the configuration is some turnkey process that is going to run next to this function, but in general, the cook command is not as it says here.
Just the target platform.
Yeah, so it's just the target platform, exactly. And later, the difference is in packaging most likely, or staging and those kinds of processes later on. One of my favorites also for working with testers and getting tickets from testers as a programmer, bug it and bug it go. You basically just type bug it, and instantly you have in your clipboard, you have a line that you can paste in another editor, and whoever pastes this line, they will be teleported directly to the same place, looking at the same spot as you were. So if you are, for example, reporting a ticket, we use it in all of our tickets right now. Whenever there is a bug, we just get a bug it, we copy it, paste it into the ticket. Whenever I want to test the ticket to fix things and stuff, I just paste it in. I don't even need to write bug it go myself, because this bug it go is being copied, and it has also an option to I don't know, make a screenshot and do other stuff. Probably you can also plug into it, I guess. And one last thing, which if you're a larger studio, you must be using BuildGraph. There is no other way. But I would suggest everyone get accustomed to it. It's a huge XML file that you can basically call with a commandlet, and it doesn't need to be huge, by the way. But BuildGraph basically is a way of telling Unreal in which it kind of scripts the build process for you. So there is a huge build graph called, I believe, build and test project.xml that is included in the engine. It does everything that you would want from, to ship the package, except bootstrapping your exe. So there is a bootstrap exe that allows you to help it. it installs the prerequisites if they are not there on the user's PC, right? So you have this like tiny little exe that points to another exe. It doesn't do that, but you can edit. But other than that, just understanding what's happening here and what kind of options you even get while building, like it's all there. You can really learn a lot. So I really suggest that you I really suggest that you, sorry, I really suggest that you get accustomed to build graph, and it's super powerful. By the way, just one short little tip for the build graph. You can include full build graphs in another build graphs, and you don't need to really, you only need to provide the parameters. Sometimes it will show you a warning, but you don't need to worry about it too much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's me.
Wow. Take your patch. And the USB key with all the tips.
Just a real quick one on build graph. If you want to see an example of how build graph can be used and parented and all that fun stuff, Lyra, Titan, and City Sample in 5.6 all have this, so you can go check out how to actually use it.
Use it as an example, yeah. All right, we must be almost done now. Okay, we still need a few. We're still okay, but it's okay. I have a backup. Like I mentioned, I sent out email feelers and I talked on social, so I was hoping more like Krista would show up. And actually, while you were talking, I was looking around and I found another of the original speakers. So we already have now like 3 out of 5, and I have a 4th one here. Actually, I see over there is Joseph. Joseph, don't look away. Come on, take this mic. Take it.
I'm on vacation.
You're on vacation?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh. Okay, so but like maybe the audience want to hear what you've learned since you left Epic. Come on, what do you say? Should we get him off vacation? Come on, little overtime doesn't kill you.
Okay, fine.
Bring your chair. I'll even make a slide for you. Come on, okay. So let me see. I'll get this from your socials. So Joseph and Sam, I even put on vacation. Come on, this is a good one, right? Take it away, Joseph.
Bunch of workaholics. Okay, fine. Here's the clicker. Let's see. Okay, so yeah. So I was at Epic. I started in 2018, died in 2023. Anyway, so then I worked as a senior technical artist at Romero Games, and I'm also president of Arab Games. So if you're a game developer in the Middle East and you're looking for conferences, go for the website arabic.games. You'll find it very useful. So my first tip is the debug float values. And this is quite useful if you want to have debugging text values in your shader. But it's not just for materials. You can actually pass that data from other systems like PCG or even Niagara. Keep in mind, in rare cases, might suffer from a loading point imprecision. So it might round a bit of the numbers, but that happened like in isolated cases. So an example is, for example, here in PCG, for each point, I can actually print some of the information. So rather than just look at a sheet, I can just individually look at all of them in the scene. Another one is in Niagara. If you combine it with the slow motion, so that's technically another tip, you can actually visualize each particle and pass that data for each one of them. So the next step is how to allow translucent selection or even disable it. So sometimes when you're in your scene, you're trying to select something and there's a particle effect in front of it or some translucent material. It's not going to let you select it. So by pressing T, you're going to be able to just select through it, or enabling it, and now you can select the particle. Now, the Epic Games Store has been growing over the years. It has a lot of games right now. It has competitive rates as well. It's giving out free games every week. So this is how you disable it.
Wait, you can't put that in there. It's my name on the line.
Okay, you go into the settings of the launcher and you click on Hide Game Library. And that's how you can keep your work environment and your gaming environment separated. So the asset validation tool, it's such a powerful tool, but what most people don't know is how easy to set it up. So by just having a table with just the name of the classes, the prefix and the suffixes, creating a validation asset, and this is the whole code for just implementing entirely like enforcing naming convention across your entire project. So first, you just have to go get the asset from the data table, checking the class of it. Then using the node start with or end with, you can check if it has those things. And then finally just say if it passes the test or it failed. If you're using Blueprint, just make sure to get the generated class, not the regular Blueprint class, because otherwise it's just going to say Blueprint, but we want more information. Now, in the original talk, we showed this glitch, and this was a way to mess with your coworkers. Now, since 5.5, the show batching will only show a single color, which is still good enough, but you can just use the other one if you want to. I still don't know what this tool is made for, but
It's for debugging and draw calls with the UI.
Of course.
Okay. Sorry.
So I want to take it a step further. So, you know, when you're making tools in Unreal, you can use Python. I would highly recommend you make a script in Python because it's easier to hide in your project.
Wait.
So this is the code that I used. Then you want to set a timer. So to make the glitch run at a random time, don't make it just run immediately. Make it also stop after a certain time. So just maybe for a split second to people get confused but not know what exactly is happening. Rename the functions. You don't want someone to accidentally look for glitch and figure out what's happening. So make it very anonymous. Then you want to lock the script to only run at a specific date. So now you don't have to submit this now. Submit it weeks in advance. It's enough to infect your entire company computer and everyone's already synced on it. Now, place it in the asset validation tool. So now every time someone saves an asset, rename the asset, or imports an asset, it might trigger. You can even give it a random chance whether to trigger or not. Submit it weeks in advance, and then submit multiple check-in for the same file just so they can trace it immediately. Now keep in mind that the console command, it might dump something into console command, so make sure not to have too much or they'll trace it back to you. And yeah, so this is how to do it. I definitely did not test it on my company. Not make everyone update their graphic GPU drivers. And my lead was happy, actually. She sent me a laughing emoji. So,
You know, the original purpose of that was not for evil. It was for good, but you managed to.
I mean,
yes.
laughing is not evil.
I guess, okay. Yes, that's, yeah.
All right. Okay, so using Niagara for more than VFX. I did a presentation before on creating an army simulation with 1 million units. It's on YouTube. But then I have a new presentation that I gave at DevCom at GIC. It's going to find its way online later. It's also how to do it for footstep system, because Niagara by default, it gives you a way to hide things at a distance, show different LODs, have a lot of things running at the same time, and being very performant. And other things you can use it for is simulating vines and having physics interactable vines. So actually, there's a talk at Unreal Fest tomorrow. It's by Quentin. You might want to check it out. It will go over how to use Niagara for doing exactly that. And of course, you can create texture generation using simulation stages. So it's not just VFX.
Where's that army GIF from? That's amazing.
It's on YouTube. It's just go for the Unreal Engine official channel and look for Niagara Army, and it's going to be the top result.
And you can learn how to make your own million army.
So I found this tip by looking into the code my colleague Joe Greeny was writing. And this is also demonstrated in Lyra, I think. So there's the async message system. And it's a way, it's like event dispatchers, but you don't need to know the other blueprint to sign up for it. So you're just sending, broadcasting all that information, and anyone who's listening to a specific tag can just listen to that. So this is how you set it up and just use it. It's quite simple. You enable the plugin. Then you go into the project settings and add a tag specifically for that one. I'm using it for the footstep system to send all that information. And then you can just send a struct. So the top code is how you're just simply sending a structure, and the one at the bottom is how you're receiving it. And this is quite useful if you're sending a lot of information. You can control how much the frequency and other things. If you're making tools in the engine, sometimes you want to have assets in the scene, but you don't want to really ship them. They just want to be there temporarily to store some data in them. Maybe even have some sticky notes that have some text renderer that are only visible in the editor, but not outside of it. So make sure to just use that setting, and on every actor is editor only actor. However, be careful not to have it referenced by other actors because it might create errors if you package something that's referencing it. Caching. I know this is a very common concept, but sometimes I forget about it. So like, for example, in this case, I was searching a data table, and it showed up on Unreal Insight as using a lot of performance because I was getting a lot of data from it. But my table was actually static. My first reflex was great. I'll just move it to C++. It's going to be quicker. Then later, after spending maybe like 20 minutes making that code, I realized, yeah, wait, I can just save it in a map. So every time I get that data, I just put it in a map. And next time I ask for it, if it's already in the map, I don't have to go to the table. Another use of that is some pure functions in Unreal, they might trigger twice if they're referenced by multiple things in the graph. So saving it in a variable and using that directly will save you from executing the function multiple times. This one I learned it from James Golding, and basically a lot of functions in your scene are dependent on location. So if something goes wrong in your calculation, it will just default to location 0, meaning there's a Alibaba cave that contains all of your mistakes, and if the player gets access to it, he's gonna get all those weapons that randomly spawned that didn't spawn in a proper location. So you wanna hide it deep somewhere. And finally, I would say maybe work smaller. So instead of working in the whole project all the time, if you can work in a separate project, separate level, maybe even like separate gyms, the way Lira is doing it, or even when building the game, you don't have to build the whole game, just build the level you're working on. That will save you a lot of time. If the engine, had to close or crash, you can easily reopen it, and that will accelerate your development. Let's see. So we're at 84, but we have a problem. I think everyone in the audience is on stage right now, so I think we're out of people.
I'll have to figure something out. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Actually, I do have a backup, and my backup is getting a random audience member. So do you? No, I'm kidding. You should have seen his face. Gotcha. We haven't gotten to that yet. Don't worry. But while you were talking, I got an email. It actually went into spam, so I only just noticed it now. And it's from the last evangelist, Andreas. And he just told me, it was super vague. He just said, I'm on a boat, and there was a video clip attached. So maybe there's some tips in there. I'm just going to embed it in the presentation. We'll just see. But the thing is, like, I just saw it now. Andreas, this is way too late to be sending me a video, please, so a few days in advance. I'm so glad, though, you sent me something. Okay, first, let's make a slide for him. There we go. That's how fast I am. I've made a few PowerPoints in my life. So Andreas Ruka was a European Unreal Engine evangelist from 2019 to 2022, and actually just found out on Slack that he's back. He just came back. So he was doing something, and then he came back, and now he's managing the Indies program here at Epic Games. And yes, he is the last of the original Unreal Engine evangelist that I could get back for this talk. Let's see what his video is all about.
My name is Andreas, and I was evangelist and content lead for Epic Games until 2023. And when Ari asked me to come back for a sequel of a really cool talk we gave in Prague 2019, I immediately said yes. But unfortunately, life happened, and I'm currently on the Ocean Explorer, which is the most advanced deep-sea research vessel in the world.
Wow.
And we were here with several experts doing a hackathon about immersive media. In the last years, I worked on installations and games, and now I take you on a deep dive into some tips and tricks I used in the past.
The first tip makes a splash by bringing back some color to this little pale fish friend. You know you can use a desaturate node to, well, desaturate the color. But did you also know that you can use negative values to saturate the little fish fellow? And then we are back to a bright orange color for him. In our next tip, we drive the animation of this little guy via Blueprint. He has a control rig with a simple float that controls his spine. And we have a blueprint with a skeletal mesh where we calculate the bending with a simple sine node. So instead of making more variables in the animation blueprint to put it into the control rig, we only have a reference to our little fish. So in the control rig node, in the animation graph, we can now use the binding, finding the fish, and in that fish, we will find our variable that is driven by the sine node. So now it will connect the blueprint with the control rig, and if I hit simulate, you can see that this little fish is now very happy. For the next trick, let's move over to another famous sea creature. He's a bit stiff. The trick is to use some simple nodes to animate him. First, we create a control for the first bone, rotate it and scale it to our liking, and let's also change the shape to be a circle. And then we will use a parent constraint to animate the bone with this created control. So we select the bone, and then under the parents, we select the item. We also could make other changes here, but we keep it simple for now. So now this is done, so we can at least move him around, still a little bit stiff. So we will use now a local chain dynamics node. And we make some changes here. So first of all, we want to select all the bones we want to influence, which is most of the chain. We create an array item of all the bones, put it in, and then let's change some numbers like strength and damping to get a nice movement. And with this done, we can now control the rotation, for example, and that will nicely contribute through the chain because of the dynamics we put in. So last step is let's move this control we created with a harmonics node. So let's put that in, and as a target in this case, we will again select a control and not a bone. And we will select our only control we have here, and then you see already it begins to do something, but it gets a little bit haywire. We will change the min and max to have a little bit more control what gets in there. And then for the wave speed, we don't want movement on X, we only want Y and Z. And then let's also change a little bit the amplitude. That's quite high. We want on Y and a 1, and on Z let's also take a 1, and maybe also change the wave ease in and out with a cubic. And with this done, you can see now the control is moved by the harmonics, the parent constraint moves the bone, and the local chain dynamics gives us this nice movement. So with some more tweaks, we have a sea creature that moves nicely and dynamically. And as the movement of this creature is now hard to predict, the next tip is about keeping it in camera focus. First, we create a target point, and now we add it to the sequence. Here we added transform. And this we attach to our tentacle, which we find here. And here we choose a bone. Now let's remove the offset, so it switches where it should be. And we switch the camera to a look at target. So select the cinema camera, and here we enable look at target location, as actor we choose our new target point. So the camera begins immediately to follow that. That's already pretty nice. With the camera now following, we can go a little bit further than that and also add its focal length. So let's select the camera again, scroll down to where the focal settings are, we go here to tracking, and again the actor to track in this case is the target. So we change that, and now with this done, we can even when the camera moves around and we're positioning it, it keeps the tentacle in focus. We can also, it will also work when we change the focal length, for example, here to 80. Go a little bit closer or zooming out. And the moment we stop moving the camera around, the tracking will go in and do our work. My last tip is a quite small one. As a creature of habit, it helps me a lot. Did you know you can switch the toolbar to the old version by using the command tool menus viewports toolbars and then 0. And for now, you have your old toolbar back.
And now have fun at Unreal Fest in Stockholm. Goodbye.
Wow. Thank you, Andreas. He also sent me this slide and said, please embed this. So yeah, if you want to join a hackathon aboard Ocean Explorer like they were doing, you can actually apply at oceanx.org/education/hackathons or by scanning this QR code. All right, we must be getting close now. I cannot believe otherwise. Oh, man. Okay, but we're so close. This is almost, okay. I'm a little sad now. I'm a little upset, actually. Because this means I have to go for one of my last backups. And that was actually asking the tip master himself. There is one person within Epic that probably could have done this whole presentation by himself. He is known for his amazing tips and tricks. And I already asked him, like, hey, just in case I don't do it, can you save me? And he was like, I got you, fam. And he sent me a video. But it was only for backup. And I didn't want to use it unless I really, really needed to. Because, like, he's the tip master. But I think we need to do it. I think we need to do it. I think we need to admit defeat and just admit that we needed the tip master's help. It is Chris Murphy himself. He is right now in Australia. Yeah, I know, he's amazing, right? Let's hear it for Chris. He is amazing. He is the tips and tricks master. He has been an Australian Unreal Engine evangelist from 2016 to 2022, when he's right now on my team in developer relations and applications. He's a principal tech artist, a principal. And he was not part of the original 100 tips talk, but it's fine because we got everyone already. But let's admit that we needed his help. Let's see what he has.
Ari, you can't hit 101?
No.
Come on, man. All right, I've got 5 that I think will help you out. Let's run through those.
So we're going to begin by going Edit, Plugins, and we're going to enable the Celestial Vault plugin. This is actually built on top of the Day Sequence plugin, which gives us dynamic time of day. So to begin with, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete my existing lighting setup. Once we've got rid of that, I'm going to drop in the Celestial Vault Day Sequence actor. Now we're going to see bright white initially, just as our eye adaptation kicks in, brings in the sun, and you can see that we've got a nice setup here. But if I click up top, I can actually change the time of day. I can scroll through this at any given point. Another really cool feature of this is not only can I scrub through the time, but if I look around and see, I can see the moon. If I keep staring at that for a second while I wait for the eye adaptation to kick in, you'll see that we actually have a few stars appearing. And those stars that appear are accompanied by the Milky Way. So we end up with a really lovely night sky setup straight out of the box, as well as a daytime setup that looks pretty good. This is a really, really good starting point. It's also a really good setup for realistic renders. At any point, you can change what the starting time of day is going to be, or how many real minutes map to game minutes. And you can also set whether you want the time of day to sync from your current editor when playing in Pi. It's a really, really useful setup. I strongly recommend folks check it out, as well as just the general day sequence actor setup. Now, sometimes you end up in that situation where you've got a pivot and it made sense when it was made, but you really want to put it in a different location for the current operation. If you hold down Alt, middle mouse, then by pressing that, it'll actually create a temporary pivot at that location. This is really, really useful when you really wanted to make it look like this object was it landed on here and it pivoted around the connection point. It's really easy to do, just Alt middle click and you're cooking with gas. And when you release, it's going to go ahead and reset the pivot to the original position. Now, inside of your world settings, you actually have an option called Runtime Cell Transformer Stack. And this lets you run certain scripts just before Pi or during Cook. Now, in this instance, what we're actually going to do is we're going to run a script that converts static meshes and partition actors over to instance static meshes. You can write your own things here for optimization's sake, but you can see that I've enabled this on those two things, and that right now inside of the world I have 166 actors. But when I hit play, we have 128. And that's because every static mesh was just converted automatically into an ISM. This is a really powerful optimization that lets actors still be actors in the world, but lets your optimization step kind of clean that up and put it into the best context it can be in. The advanced water plugin is really powerful, and it's super useful for making realistic rivers. So if you add a shallow water river actor to your world and then set the source river water body to be one of your existing river bodies, click reset, and you can see that it actually runs a Niagara simulation that kind of figures out where the water would go and what the flow would look like at that given location. This gives you a really nice realistic flow. It still works with buoyancy and everything else, but also it allows you to bake. So you can not just run it live, which is expensive, but you can also bake it down to be a water component with a baked sim applied. So you can see here that that's been selected. I clicked bake earlier, and now it's actually really quite cheap. And we end up with all the visuals and buoyancy interactions that we would expect from a nice water system. And yeah, if you're looking at kind of not just having the stock standard water setup that we've got, this is probably worth looking into. I could stare at this all day. Honestly, it's strangely satisfying. Now, the last thing I want to show you is what I think is one of the coolest features in PCG that no one knows about, and it's called shape grammar. Shape grammar allows you to use plain language to explain how a series of points can be set up. For instance, in this situation, I'm saying add a corner and then as many of these meshes as you can, with the small one being scalable, and then add another corner. And PCGs can automatically figure out how to do that. I've used this for all sorts of generation. I've used this for cities and for mines, and I strongly recommend anyone investigating PCG checks this out. If you want more information, check out the docs page that we have online, and alternatively, just right-click and create a new PCG from the shape grammar template.
I love it. I didn't know that you could bake the water simulation. I also think the game industry is the only industry where you can unironically bake water. Let's see, did he manage to get us over the tip limit? Wow, we're so close! We're so close. He was my last backup. Wait. We did that. Okay, actually I had forgotten about this. We did do one last backup. A month ago, on my socials, I actually made a request. This was just in case I needed some extra tips, but I asked the community if they wanted to guest our Unreal Fest Stockholm presentation, and asked them to send their best tips. And I think for this one, for us to get over the 101 limit, we really need for the community to come together and help us with this. So, I have the folder here. I haven't looked at it. Let's just see what we got. Roll the dice. Here we go. First one is from Einar Hallik or Einarskorp.
We noticed that some of your functions that return a boolean always require a branch node right after it. Would be nice if you could combine them, right? And the good news, you can. Using this meta specifier, you can do exactly that.
Okay, I did not know you could do that. Next is from Luke Botham, who is a senior technical designer at Surgeon Studios.
Hey, if you have a blueprint that has some functionality that you don't want to run when you right-click and play from here in the editor, a way to get around that is you can use a getAllActors class and search for player start PIE, which is what is created when you right-click and play from here. You can then check the results of this check to see if it's empty and change your logic based on that. We use this at Surgeon on Tales of Kanzera Zao, where I use this to basically create a checkpoint when you right-clicked and play from here. So this was very helpful when we're testing things like hazards, where you want to just kind of quickly run into some spikes, check that they're set up correctly, and then the player would respawn right next to it, so you could test it all over again.
Okay, I did not know you could just do that.
Well, and as we learned in your myth-busting presentation, getAllActors of class isn't actually expensive.
Yeah, it's super fast if the actors you're getting is a low amount, because they're all put into hash buckets, so you can actually do this. And also, this is an editor-only feature anyways. And yeah, usually when you right-click and do play from here, you want to do something specific. You don't want your gameplay systems to put the player to the beginning, so being able to just skip it by checking whether this is awesome. All right, next tip is from Aleksandre Ronkonen. He is actually from Finland, and I met him at the last Unreal Engine Finland meetup, so this is a small world.
If you have an imported asset that you're constantly updating, what you can do is go to Editor Preferences and search for Auto Reimport Settings. And when you set these directories as you want, what you can do is, for example, if you're editing an image, you can export it, and beep-a-boo, you can see instantly how it looks like in the game. And it works even if you don't say beep-a-boo.
But it helps. He actually sent us another tip.
Blueprints, if you have a struct variable and you want to change just 1 or 2 members, don't do this craziness where you split the struct and connect all of these pins. Instead, use set members node. It allows you to select the members you want to change, and then you just change them.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. I always split it and connect everything except that one variable I want to change. Oh man. Okay, we have another one.
Manage your tabs with shortcuts. If you want to open an asset in a new tab, press Ctrl P and search for the asset. And swap between current and previous tab with Control Tab, like this. And you can press Tab multiple times to browse previous tabs. To open a specific tab, press Ctrl-Shift-Tab and search for the tab. And if you want to close a tab, press Ctrl-W.
I did not know that you could search for open tabs. All of us professional savvy people are like, I don't know that either.
I work here.
Next one is from
Amir Makes Games.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Find yourself continuously modifying some blueprint, but you have to stop playing in editor and get back to playing in editor. You can go to project settings and search for base classes to allow recompiling during play in editor and add your class to this list. And you now can compile it even while you're playing editor.
Oh, that's a very useful one. Okay, and another one.
After finishing your play in editor sessions, you're greeted with a lot of error messages that you don't know where they're coming from and what they are trying to say. You can instead enable blueprint break on exceptions. It will stop the game immediately once an error is met, so you'll know where exactly it's coming from, and you'll probably fix it.
Probably. Oh, next one is from Cobra Code. He actually helped me with the myth-busting best practices in Unreal Engine talk, where he was talking about myth-busting whether you can use 2D or not for Unreal Engine. And spoiler alert, you can use 2D in Unreal.
When you create a blueprint function and want to use an input parameter further down the line of execution, the connecting lines can get very messy. Instead, you can just right-click and type get and whatever your input parameter is named. Then you can copy-paste this node and use it throughout your function, making things much cleaner and more readable.
Oh, nice. Speak in the mic. Can you...
Function inputs are local variables.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
It's great.
Yeah. Next one is Robin Jan Storm, who is a tool UX designer.
If you can't tell what an asset looks like in the thumbnail, easy fix. Go into the asset browser to the gear icon over here, click on thumbnail edit mode, and now you can click and drag to rotate them. Set them however you like, and then go back here, turn them off again, and your thumbnails are set.
I thought these were images, but they're just small Unreal viewports.
They're all just little viewports, and they're all rendering.
Also, you should follow Robin Jan on LinkedIn. He makes a lot of tips on UX. He's really good.
Good to know. Good to know. And next one is from Johan Rock, who is a UE5 gameplay and UI programmer.
You're doing some math in your blueprint. You should use the math expression node instead. Simply type your formula in the name field, and look, it can transform this into this. And you can always look at what's happening behind.
Oh, nice. Very convenient. Next one is from Adam Kirelli, who's a senior technical artist at Tanglewood Games.
My favorite tip is the Blueprint Debugger. It lives under Tools, Debug, Blueprint Debugger, and you can use it to look at blueprint parameters in real time while in Pi. And it also has a call stack. When you hit a breakpoint, you can follow through how it got there. Hope this helps.
Yeah, Sam, you also had that tip. So this is just even better. Should we count it twice? No, actually, let's take my bonus tip and make it an actual tip. So the Unreal VS, that's now an actual tip. Use it. It's really good. Okay, we fixed it. It's okay. Let's keep going. This is great. How do
Ammar Ismail.
Thank you.
To find an asset in the contract browser, select it and press Ctrl and B. And here it is.
Well, that was the shortest tip. But yeah, Ctrl B and it'll go directly to the asset browser. Awesome.
Salih Abdallah Sandil.
Thank you. MVP right here. I'm going to try this.
Hi, if you want to change the light on the static mesh editor view, just press L key and left mouse, and this is how you change the light direction.
I did not know you could change that. That is crazy. We have Einar Hallik again.
Have you ever made a function in C++ and then got tired of putting self-note into it everywhere? Want to have a function like the ones that come from the engine where it's automatic? Then add this simple meta specifier with the name of the parameter you want to automate, and boom, done.
Trying to see how many people are just going like, oh my god. No, this was a good one. And then I think this might be the last one we have, again from Einar.
You just added new animations in a specific folder and want to work only with them, but in the asset browser you see a lot of other animations. You can just filter them out using folder filter. Boom, now you see the animations only in that folder.
This was everything we had.
Damn.
Everything we had. This is it. Like I'm out of backup options, and I really, really, really hope that we're over the counter, because also I think people are starting to get hungry. Yeah. We are now at, what does the counter say? Yes! 100, and we went over! We went over! So it's going to be even harder for someone who maybe works at Epic who wants to top this to do it in a single presentation. Okay, I want to remember this. So all of you were now a part of history. So can we put the lights on? Because I want to get a selfie with the audience here. Also, can you guys all come over here? Maybe stand like this. I'll be on stage and we're going to take a selfie. And we're all going to say, hi from Stockholm. Okay, so, there are the lights.
Are we going to do this in 5 years again?
I guess we have to. We have to beat the record. Okay, so I'll go 3, 2, 1, and all of you are going to say, hi from Stockholm. Let's practice it. 3, 2, 1.
Hi from Stockholm.
Great. A little bit louder, because I think Prague did it louder last time. So come on, you can do it. We can beat Prague. Are you ready? Okay, we did it. 109 tips. 3, 2, 1. Hi from Stockholm. Woo! Thank you so much. Have a great Unreal Fest. Thank you, thank you.